Ladies, what is the scene for you? Why are you there? You're Sid's manager, right?
Yeah.
What kind of role do you play in this?
In what?
What's your job? What have you been doing in this? I mean, you're part of. He's on stage performing, but you're just as much an active part of the career as he is. What's your job? Yeah. What do you do?
Manager.
What is that? Many people out in our audience don't have any idea what a manager does.
I getting gigs.
Hey man, not everybody's in the record business. You know?
I'm his liaison to the record company.
Have you been able to sell him now?
He's got 4 record contracts. I don't have to sell him. I mean, I arrange recording, I arrange gigs, I arrange the publicity, I talk to the club owners, to the people at the record company, to the people in newspapers, magazines, things like that.
Are we ready?
This Know Thyself series is on Sid and Nancy. They are essentially Punk's answer to Romeo and Juliet. Their relationship has been highly publicized and highly romanticized, potentially for all the wrong reasons. So where do I start? So Sid Vicious, originally he was John Simon Ritchie and Nancy Spungen met as he was part of the Sex Pistols. Originally, she had her heart set on Johnny Rotten, but that didn't quite work out. So the two of them met and they fell in love. They were like kindred spirits. Now, Nancy was very much seen as the Yoko Ono of the punk world. Okay, so for those of you who know about Yoko Ono and John Lennon, you'll know that she was seen as the reason for the band splitting, for the issues that the band had gone through. And the band manager had been quite vocal about his dislike of Nancy. Nancy, growing up, had lots and lots and lots of issues and problems. She was suffering from addictions from quite an early age. Now, it has been stated that Nancy had introduced Sid to hard drugs, and the two of them had become very dependent on each other. Now, the Sex Pistols, a few years later, had split up after they had met. And the two of them then moved to Hotel Chelsea. As you could see from the VT earlier on, Nancy then essentially became Sid's manager, all right, trying to help him out with his career. Now, they'd moved to the Hotel Chelsea. Nancy, unfortunately, died at the Hotel Chelsea. She was stabbed to death. There's a lot of conspiracy surrounding her death. There was a party, a drug-filled or drug-fueled party at the time of her death. She was stabbed with what I believe is a knife that I think she had gifted him, but there seems to be differing versions of account in relation to that, whether he bought it or she bought it for him. Now, some people assume that she may have stabbed herself as part of seeking attention. Some people assume that someone, a member of the party, had stabbed Nancy whilst trying to steal from them. And the narrative that did follow through is that Sid potentially may have stabbed Nancy. Sid doesn't recall at all what happened, but he was ultimately charged for the death, given that it was his knife, and he was the only person in the room at the time. but he was in no fit state to even walk. So it's unclear whether he was or he wasn't. So the purpose of this Destiny Matrix today is not to go through that. It's not to run through whether he was a culprit or not a culprit during this time. Okay? Now, he was held until a bond was paid for his bail. Unfortunately for Sid, so I believe it was around 6 months after the death of Nancy, he too would succumb to basically death. So he died within 24 hours of him being bailed through an OD. And just like Nancy, there's a lot of speculation over whether Sid did this to himself or whether his his mother was responsible. She'd admitted on her deathbed that she had, administered the heroin dose that ultimately killed him. Very, very, very sad, tragic situation between these two. Very sad. Let's get into the Destiny Matrix and see whether the Destiny Matrix can shed any light on why this couple came together in the first place and potentially why this went so astronomically wrong. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Know Thyself series. So this is a continuation of basically the Compatibility Matrix, and as well as the actual Destiny Matrix itself, showing key signs and indications in here of what's going on, what energies are at play, and how those energies can affect a specific person. Now, today we are going to be looking at Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen when love goes wrong. Now, you've seen from the VT, and hopefully there is a VT at the beginning of this, that they have had quite the tumultuous relationship. Nancy herself has been plagued with lots and lots of issues from childhood. So she had many addictions. And Sid himself, he's had, he was how do I put it? He was a very shy individual. Troubled himself. The two of them together were a powerful force. Very powerful force. Now, the energy 19 suggests that that's the sun energy, that there was a lot of warmth, fun, highly energetic sort of energy surrounding both of these individuals, especially together. And the 7 is about that go, go, go energy, that chariot. But what I can't shake is the 16 energy right in the center and the 8 energy in the karmic tail, which talks about karma. I feel that the two of them were a very karmic connection. So they were drawn together for a reason, and we're going to go into why the couple met in the first place. But their energies could have been transmuted to make something that was really beautiful. But that 16 energy, which is a weakness for them, Tower card, and in Chaldean, it's losses. Either material losses or physical. Coupled with the 8, very, very, very difficult energies. Very difficult energies. So let's kind of go into this a little bit deeper. So, Sid Vicious, also known as, well, originally, John Simon Ritchie. He was born on the 10th of May, 1957. And Nancy Spungen was born on the 27th of Feb 1958. So John slash Sid Vicious, he was UK born, a member of the Sex Pistols. Nancy Spungen is US born, and from her own account, she was a prostitute, and she was a groupie, if you will. She used to follow around rock bands and that punk scene. Now, why did the couple meet? Now, with that 19 energy, it suggests that the couple met in order to be the team in all matters of life. They need to go together towards common goals. Both of them would have shared common interests. On the whole, after having met, the couple feels the unity of souls. They complement each other harmoniously. All right, so they would have met and it would have clicked straight away. Their souls would have connected straight away. And that's exactly what happened between these two. They were inseparable. Now, interestingly, it talks about how the two of them are a team in all matters of life. When the Sex Pistols had split up, especially with Nancy, there was a need or a push for them to kind of go it alone, and she effectively became his manager, trying to get him to where he needed to be, or where she envisioned that he should be. Now, with the 7 energy at the top of this matrix, the couple is created for joint spiritual growth. They help each other solve problems. In this alliance, fresh ideas appear. Problem. It's very clear that they spiritually, they were not, either of them were not where they needed to be. So as a result of that, they were in severe imbalance. So we're going to come on to the impact of this when we get further into this matrix. So the problems and difficulties that can occur with these two. All right, so when problems arise with these two, the couple stop feeling the taste of life. Attempts to earn money do not lead to anything. After another failure, each partner feels guilty for it. The couple at the beginning of any business may be afraid that nothing will work. In such circumstances, people do not feel gratitude for what they have, forget to enjoy the present day. In order to please the partner, they may unnecessarily invade each other's personal space. Like I said, these two were inseparable. I feel that after Sex Pistols had basically disbanded, they were left to their drug-fueled existence. And, you know, for all intents and purposes and through numerous reports, it started to spiral. Any attempts from Nancy, you know, in terms of managing Sid and, you know, a reinvigoration of his career, it didn't go to plan. So there was failure and after failure. And I believe that for Sid, he may have felt guilty about it. Nancy may have felt guilty about it. But it's entirely possible that one encroached very heavily in the personal space of the other. Possibly Nancy with Sid. Another indication of problems and difficulties is with that energy 7 again. Partner or both of them or one of them can demand from each other full dedication and even compete among themselves in achievements. Codependency is what I'm strongly getting here, where one is heavily dependent on the other. Possibly it may have resulted in competition, one trying to compete with the other. In this couple, there can be some cunning and manipulative behavior. But that actually in turn affects the achievement of one of the partner's goals. What else is there? So if this couple does not fulfill what they have met for, negative karma turns on. And as we already alluded to at the beginning, I feel that negative karma had turned on, which resulted in the weakness, that 16, being very, very prevalent for these two. So indications of when negative karma turns on. The birth of children is postponed all the time. All right. Now I feel that for these two, obviously they didn't have children. So in this instance, it's correct. It could have been that the relationship itself had become too business-like with that energy number 7. In terms of the energy number 16, and I feel this is where they fell short, they came together with that 7 energy for spiritual growth with that 16. In a couple, when they're in negative karma, there's no spiritual development. There is a life on credit, a lot of loans. They can lose everything they have earned. There can be no common interests, topics for conversation, and as we already know, lots of quarrels, and as a result of that, scandals. It's been highly publicized that the two of them fought like cat and dog. And for those of you who don't know, especially with that 16 energy, they, unfortunately, the couple were forced apart. So Nancy was murdered. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether Sid did it. Sid doesn't recall anything. Or whether somebody else had entered the apartment and had, ultimately killed Nancy, or even whether Nancy had done it herself. He, a couple of months later, had also chosen to kill himself, or again, there's some speculation as to whether or not his mum had a part to play in the situation, as she confessed just before her death that she was the last person to supply him with a Class A drug. Now, there has been talk that the two of them may have created a pact that if one dies, the other one will follow, so that the two of them can be together. So it's entirely possible that it was a self-deletion attempt on the part of Sid. There's also a risk with the couple being in negative karma that there's no mutual understanding. The people in the alliance are lonely despite the fact that they are in a relationship. One of the partners may be prone to addictions of various kinds. We can practically tick off all of these instances of negative karma being triggered, being turned on. Both of them suffered from quite significant addictions. We've also got physical aggression here, disappointment in a partner, disputes and grievances. Depression may have been prevalent in the relationship as well. Communication may have been lacking between the two of them. Not that they didn't talk, but they just didn't fully understand each other. Now, clearly, obviously, if both of them were in a haze due to their addictions, that's entirely plausible. There was a lot of, especially with certain energies that are here, that, you know, with the 14, especially in that karmic tale, they may have taken offense at each other. They may have felt like they were suffering, or one of them did, or there was discontentment. They may have struggled to resolve financial issues. There could have been spiraling debt. But I think what's really important here is that 16 energy in the vulnerable spot in the center, the tower. All right, this is actually the weakest point of the relationship. This can include fights and relationships, just the other relationships. Could have been previous relationships they'd been in. The two of them triggered each other a lot. Now, due to the fear of ruining the relationship, the partners or one of them may have continuously lived under stress. Now, from memory, and I could be wrong, but I think that Sid Vicious was a virgin when he met Nancy. So it may have been Nancy's past that may have triggered her. Or, you know, things that Sid may have said or done may have triggered her. It's important not to... It's important for the two of them, and especially if you do a compatibility matrix for yourself and you've got 16 in the center, which is a weak spot, it's important not to manipulate another one, the other person, with tricks, but take on responsibility for trying to build that relationship up. Also, the number 16 in the Chaldean system is of significant losses, like I'd mentioned, material losses or a physical loss. Very, 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 very difficult energies here, with lots of karma, with the 8 being prevalent all over. Interestingly, I'm just having a look at the love line. We've also got the 13 here, which is the death card. Now, this indicates that the two of them may have been on and off. I also feel that with that 13 energy, it was very difficult for the two of them to be apart and stay apart. Ugh. Really difficult energies. It could have been flipped on its head, as with most of the energies in the matrix. But I feel that it could have been flipped on its head if the couple had completed the task for what they had been brought together to do. And that was to go towards common goals. All right. But more importantly for these two, it was joint spiritual growth. It wouldn't have been enough for one of them. It needed to be both of them. And for each of them to help each other to solve problems. Unfortunately, this didn't happen in this connection. Highly publicized, highly romanticized sort of connection. But definitely plagued with very, very toxic traits. So for those of you who do get a destiny matrix with me or with anybody else, and you have a compatibility assessment done, 16 energy you do not necessarily want to see anywhere, nor do you want to see the 13 energy, especially not in the entry position where the 19 is, the 7 position where at the very top of the matrix, and certainly not in the center, in the comfort zone. All right, guys, that is it. It is a wrap. If you've enjoyed this reading, then please do your girl a solid and smash that like button for me. For those of you who haven't already, I'd also really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be kept up to date on absolutely everything and anything that I upload on here. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of the week, and mwah, I'll catch you next time. Bye.